Okay, good afternoon. Assalamualaikum. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the online international workshop on Building Cities and Regions 2021, Urban History Revitalization. This event is the first joint collaboration between the Faculty of Architecture, Planning and Surveying, University of Technology Mara, UITM, and Department of Regional Development Studies, Toyo University. Thank you very much for joining us. I, Rohas Linda from UITM, and Dr. Kashiwazaki from Toyo University will be your moderator for today. Now it is my great pleasure to call upon Professor Town Planner Dr. Jamai Abdullah, the Dean of the Faculty of Architecture, Planning and Surveying UITM, to deliver his greetings. Please welcome.
Okay, Assalamualaikum wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon. Especially to all the professors and our counterparts from Kuala University, Department of Regional Development. Okay. So welcome to our first webinar between Toyo and UITM. Okay. And then, so I'd like to welcome all other people in the group. I see that there's like 141 participants so far, so they will increase as we proceed. Yes. And then, I'm really grateful and thankful to our counterparts from Kuala University for joining us to join collaboration for our webinar this afternoon. Dr. Linda, so my presentation about FSP start now or after this one?
Yes, you can start now.
Okay. So I think I'm given about 15 minutes for this. To the first session will be on like sharing information about UITM as well as the faculty. Okay, because for us to know each other more on the programs that we have and with our faculty as well. If that's the case, may I ask Dr. Linda, you can play the video of UITM, and after that I do the presentation about the faculty.
Okay, Mr. Cairo, can we play the video?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Linda, for the video. So I hope the video will be able to give our counterpart, our professors and counterpart from UNC some ideas about UITM, which is the largest public university in Malaysia. With now our students have approached 189,000, and then we have 35 campuses all over Malaysia. So when the professors and lecturers and students from Toyo, okay, when we are able to travel again, you are welcome to UITM, and then we can take you to our main campus as well as one of the 34 other campuses throughout Malaysia. So whichever ones that fit the need, then somehow we can take you there. Okay, I think so. I like to share about our faculty. So let me get that. Okay. Can you see my slide?
Yes, Prof.
But I think I need but somehow I'm unable to see. I only see that Dr. Linda's face there. I tried before. What's the slide that didn't come up with? Faculty of Architecture, Planning, Surveying. Oh, I have to stop the video. And then, Dr. Linda, I'm having problem.
Do we need Mr. Cairo to share the screen for you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Now, because I'm having, now I can see your face.
Okay, all right. Mr. Cairo, please.
Okay. Carol, I'm unable to see the slide on my screen. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, I can see the slide here. Can you put it in? Okay, so I'm going to, so Mr. Caro will help me to, okay, to share the screen. So basically, this is the Faculty of Architecture, Planning and Surveying. I tried to finish it less than 10 minutes. So it started in 1967 with 60 students. At that time, we were what called School of Applied Arts. And then when it split into two faculties, then was changed to School of Arts and Architecture. And then in 1971, it became the Faculty of Architecture, Planning and Surveying, where it is now. Okay. And in 1996, we also have a Department of Surveying Science and Geometry under the faculty. So this faculty is located in Klang Valley, where Kuala Lumpur is located. Okay. And then we have 11 academic departments. Okay, and we have 31 academic programs from diploma until PhD. And our students now is 14,000. Actually, our students now is 16,000. And we are located in 5 campuses throughout Malaysia. Next. Okay, and this is a mission, vision of UITM as a globally renowned Institute of Science, Technology, Humanities, and Entrepreneurship. And our mission is development of agile, professional, state of the curricula, and then that's our core values. Next. Okay. And as I mentioned, this faculty, UITM has 35 campuses. Okay, so among these campuses, 5 of them host our faculty. So the main one will be in Shah Alam here, especially Shah Alam Selangor, and then Puncak Alam. So these are the two twin campuses directly under the dean, and then this faculty, and then in these two locations here, we have all the bachelor degree programs. Okay. And then these two campuses have about 6,500 students in the faculty, together with about 260 teaching staff. And then another one of our campus is in the Sri Iskandar, so it's about 3 hours drive from our main campus. And this faculty also is very big. It has 7,000 students with almost 300 lecturers. And then in Samarahan, in Sarawak, we have 3 programs there. Okay, and then in Arau, Perlis, which is bordering Thailand, southern Thailand, we have about 1,000 students. So these are the 5 campuses that host our faculty. Next. Okay. So we have 11 center of studies, or in other places they are called department. So ranging from architecture all the way until park amenities and surveying science and postgraduates. So all of these programs here, they are offered at UITM Shah Alam and Puncak Alam, as well as in Sri Iskandar. Okay, and then some are offered in Sarawak and in Arau Perlis. So basically, we like to pride ourselves as perhaps one of the most comprehensive built environment faculties in the world, and also one of the largest built environment faculty in the world as well, because of our sheer size. And in Malaysia, we are the largest. And then we are also considered as the pioneer, together with University Technology Malaysia, which is located in Johor, UTM. So UITM and UTM are the pioneer universities on the built environment. Next. And then, so basically, the 31 program offered, so diploma in all the field, as well as the degrees in the 11 field there, I mentioned just now, and then we have master's and degree program. Next. Okay, and this is basically the location of those programs. So up here in Perlis, which is bordering Thailand, so we have a program on geometric science. And Sri Iskandar have diploma and degree program, whereas in Shah Alam, the main one, we focus on the degree as well as master's and doctorate program. And then Samarahan also have a few of our bachelor degree programs. So these are the 5 locations within Malaysia where our faculty are located. So when we have the students from Toyo come to visit later on, so we can visit any of these 5 faculties here as well as the other campuses. And I'm sure all of you like to go to Sarawak, which is very considered this unique environment as well as the culture as well. Okay. Next. And our enrollment, so this is the number in our main campus in Shah Alam, Puncak Alam. We have almost 6,500 students, and 16,000 students enroll in all 5 campuses. And then, as I mentioned to you, that's why we pride ourselves of being one of the largest built environment faculty in the world. And then the one that probably the program that probably related very much with Toyo would be our Center of Study for Town and Regional Planning. Because town planning, we do have the development planning, development studies as well. Okay. Next. Okay, and this is our academic staff. 260 in the main campus, Shah Alam, Puncak Alam, and 635 academic staff in the 5 campuses. And then those with PhD, here we have 118. I think for this year the number has gone up to 130, and then throughout Malaysia we have 260 of our academic staff who have PhD. So this is like for research collaboration. So this those with PhDs here really they are ready to collaborate to do joint research and other collaborations with Toyo as well. Next. Okay, and all our programs are accredited by professional bodies as well as by the board. Whereas there are boards, so these are the boards that accredit our program: Board of Quantity Surveying, Board of Architects, Board of Campaigners, Board of Valuers, and then Excellent Surveyors Board. So all these 5 boards accredit our program because it's by the Act. If the program do not have board, then they are also recognized by professional bodies. So this is like for the landscape architecture, by Institute of Landscape Architecture, Malaysia Institute of Designers, and then Malaysia Institute of Planners and others. Okay, and then in addition to local, we also receive accreditation and validation from overseas. Okay, our construction management is accredited by Chartered Institute of Building UK, and for our architecture program by Royal Institute of British Architects, and then RSES from UK, and then World Urban Park as well. Next. Okay, and then this is industrial linkages and then collaborators, okay, and many more, so including Toyo University. Okay, so we have collaboration. The university has MOU with about more than 300 foreign universities. Okay, and then we also have MOU with Toyo University as well. So we like to welcome Toyo University on board as our distinguished partners. Next. Okay, and our adjunct professor, we have one from field of architecture, A.R. Jaskaturi. He is considered as the father of modern architecture in Malaysia. So some of the buildings in Kuala Lumpur were designed by him. For example, the Maybank Tower in Kuala Lumpur, and then also the Telecom Tower, and then the Putrajaya Convention Center, the National Library. So the very notable buildings in Kuala Lumpur are designed by A.R. Jaskaturi. He is also our first dean. When we started the faculty in 1967, he was our first dean. And then last year, it's supposed to be the World Fair, World Expo in Dubai. Okay, but I think they postponed it. So if you are going to the World Expo in Dubai, the Malaysian pavilion is designed by him. Okay, so when they're going to have this, and you have opportunity to go to Dubai for the World Expo. Okay, then visit Malaysian pavilion, then you can see his design of the Malaysian pavilion. Okay, next. And then this is showing some of the pictures of the students doing entrepreneurship. Next. And then our achievement, so we put them, I'm sorry, like the words are in Malay because it's like for internal consumption within Malaysia. So this is the award won by our academic. Next. Okay, some of this, okay, the competition within Malaysia as well as at the international level. Next. Okay, some of the others. Next. Okay. Okay, so with that, thank you for your time to learn about FSP. Okay, so I pass it to Dr. Linda.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Jamal Lali Abdullah. So it is quite nice to know the UITM and your faculty deeply. Thank you very much. So now let's move to the next part. I would like to invite Professor Ryo Matsumaru, who is an chair of the Department of Regional Development Studies in Toyo University, to deliver his greetings and introduction of our university and department. Please welcome.
Professor Jamalul Nari Abdullah, Dean of Faculty of Architecture, Planning, Surveying of University Technology Mala, UITM, professors and students from UITM and Toyo University, good afternoon. My name is Ryo Matsumaru. I'm a head of the Department of Regional Development Studies of Toyo University. This is my pleasure to be here to give a short greetings at this important joint workshop with UITM. First of all, on behalf of Toyo University and Faculty of Global and Regional Studies, welcome and thank you for participation to the online International Joint Workshop on Buildings, Cities and Regions 2021. I think this is the first workshop with UITM after we signed the agreement for collaboration on research and education activities. Due to the widespread of COVID-19, our collaboration activities have been suspended. However, today's workshop will be a new step forward to overcome this situation. Last year, the year 2020, is a very challenging year for us. COVID-19 has made us difficult to visit each other. However, this problematic situation and progress of digital transformation gives us an opportunity to create a new style of collaboration. Using digital tools, we can more frequently talk and discuss each other face-to-face than ever, and easy to organize this kind of international workshop. So I think that by using the latest digital technologies, we will be able to conduct effective research or field work even when we are physically separated from each other. I understand that today's workshop, Planning and Urban Issues in Malaysia and Japan, will be presented from two different perspectives, and the presentations are followed by a panel discussion. I believe that valuable discussion will take place in the workshop, so participants can enjoy and will get some hints for their further work. Also, through the discussion, I believe we can find out further collaboration areas between two universities. At the end of my short speech, and before moving to the brief introduction of our department, I appreciate our colleagues for preparation of this important workshop, especially Rojas Linda and Kozue for the effort to prepare this workshop. Thank you very much. Now I will share my slide to explain our university and our department. Can you see my slide?
Yes, Professor, very clearly.
Thank you very much. So we are sorry, we don't have any good introduction video at the UITM, so I explain using very traditional PowerPoint presentations. Okay, first of all, let me give you a brief idea of Toyo University. Toyo University was established in 1887 when the philosopher Dr. Enryo Inoue founded Shiritsu Tetsugakukan. It means Private Academy of Philosophy. Since then, university has grown, and we have now 13 faculties and 46 departments for undergraduate, and 15 graduate schools with 17 courses. These 13 faculties covered from Faculty of Literature, Economics, and Science, Engineering, Bioscience, Healthcare and Sports, and also this Regional Development Studies. The total number of students is over 30,000, and nearly 2,000 international students are studying here. Toyo University is one of the oldest and largest private university in Japan. Now we have 5 campuses in and around Tokyo, and the main campus is located in Hakusan, the heart of Tokyo. These photos are showing the facility of Hakusan campuses. We have very big buildings, also have auditoriums here. Toyo University is also active in sports. We have many Olympic athletes, some of whom are gold medalists, and we have strong sporting teams like baseball, swimming, ice hockey, also a very strong team of Japanese sumo wrestling. Now I will explain our department. Our department, Regional Development Studies, is belonging to the Faculty of Global and Regional Studies. We are calling GRS. GRS has two departments, our department and Global Innovation Studies. We are calling GENOS. GENOS is newly established in 2017, and department gives all lectures in English. It's a very special department in Toyo University. Faculty of GRS was relatively new in Toyo University. However, we, Regional Development Studies, has more than 20 years history. We established in 1997 at Itakura campus. So here is Itakura campus. Itakura campus is a little bit far from Tokyo, about nearly 2 hours from our main campus. Then we moved to Hakusan in 2009. Then after move to Hakusan campus, we attached evening course, night class. So because our founder, Dr. Inoue, wanted to provide the education for all the people who want to study, even if they're working, so that our department also attached night course to our department. Then this slide shows the summary of our policy. We are aiming to develop regional development professionals who can solve the variety of issues for sustainable and self-development visions. To foster these human resources who have broad knowledge of regional development with intercultural communication skills, we are offering a variety of specialized subjects, language communication classes, cross-cultural exchange programs, and field-based activities. Now we are currently have about 1,200 students for daytime and nighttime course. We received about 200 students daytime course and 100 students for nighttime course every year, so that total number of students around 1,200. To offer a wide range of topics, we are multidisciplinary department, so we have 26 faculty members from various fields, such as economics, public policy, international relations, urban planning, and environment. And to study specialized subjects effectively and systematically, our subjects are divided into 4 fields as shown in this table here. These topics, including international relations, development policy, comparative culture and regional research, community and regional policy, and also environment, information, and infrastructure field. Now, today, Professor Shima and Professor Yamazaki is going to provide some lectures. So we are this environment, information, and infrastructure. We are from the environment, information, and infrastructure field. This slide shows an example of language program provided by our department. Learn English Abroad, LEA, we are calling LEA, is a short-term overseas English training program, which was also offered at UITM until last year. This year, unfortunately, due to the COVID-19, we couldn't hold this program, but hopefully from this year or next year, we resume this program again. Also, this year, we challenged the intensive English program online. So this challenge finds some opportunity or possibility of the English training online. So we will continue this kind of program to offer the program under this severe situation. This slide shows the example of cross-cultural exchange program offered by our department. We have been holding relay lectures of ambassadors relay lectures from since 2006, inviting ambassadors from various countries, and we have held lectures from ambassadors from over 40 countries. The photo on the right-hand side shows the international workshop conducted by students. This kind of international workshop also conducted every year. Finally, here are some photos from the field study. Maybe you can see students really can enjoy these kind of field studies. So we are both domestic and overseas. Okay, thank you very much. This is very short introduction of our department. So I'm hoping our collaboration is enhancing in future, and we can exchange our students in future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Matsumaru Sensei, for your kind speech and the introduction of our department. Okay, now we would like to move to the lecture session with speakers from UITM and Toyo University. And if you have any questions for the speakers, please write in the Q&A box on your right side. And moderators, I and Professor Dr. Linda will lead them during the question and answer session at the end of this event. Okay, next, let's move to the first speaker. It is my honor to introduce our first speaker. Dr. Norihisa Shima is an associate professor at the Department of Regional Development Studies, Faculty of Global Regional Studies in Toyo University. Dr. Shima received his PhD, Master and Bachelor of Engineering in Urban Planning in the University of Tokyo. And his expertise is urban and regional planning. And Dr. Shima has conducted his research projects mainly in Asian and African countries. And also he engaged some JICA projects around the world as an academic advisor. So Dr. Shima will give a talk on the planning history of Tokyo. So please welcome Dr. Shima.
Thank you very much. Let me have some time to talk about preparation. Thank you very much, Professor Kashiwazaki. And first of all, I'd like to extend my sincerest appreciation for giving me this opportunity. Professor Town Planner, Dr. Abdullah, Senior Dr. Rashid, and Dr. Linda Ramele, as well as all the faculties and students from UITM. Well, let me have some time to prepare my presentation. As introduced by Professor Kashiwazaki, my background is urban planning. So today I will talk about the planning history of the city of Tokyo. But I will talk about the planning history of Tokyo, the 200 years of history within just 20 minutes. So it may be a little bit quick, but hopefully we can have a productive discussion after my presentation. Thank you. Well, what kind of image do you have for the city of Tokyo? You may have an image of Tokyo Tower. You may have an image of this kind of business district of international standard. or Roppongi area, the amazing amusement district, very famous in Tokyo, or this kind of nostalgic shopping arcade. All of these are Tokyo. Or you may have an image of suburban district, suburban new town. This is Kohoku New Town, indeed. Well, when we quickly look at the demographical fact, Tokyo has been the biggest megacity all over the world in the year of 2007 and in 2025 in the future as well. Yet at the same time, we have to understand, according to an insurance company named Lloyd's, Tokyo is the city of the highest risk. When we consider the risks of market crash, tropical windstorm, or human pandemic, blah, blah, blah. If you think about all this kind of risks, Tokyo is unfortunately ranked at the first. Tokyo, the city of Tokyo is that of country, that of city. If you know a little bit about the city of Tokyo, particularly from the planning perspective, you may know Tokyo is often called the city of TOD, transit-oriented development. For example, if you look at the model share of the major metropolitan cities, that includes the city of Tokyo, Berlin, Paris, Madrid, London, New York, Singapore. Sorry, KL is not included in this figure. Anyway, easily we can find that in the city of Tokyo, the modal share of the train, bus, or so-called public transportation is higher especially compared to the cities in the United States or even European cities such as London, Paris, Berlin, or the kind. And when we look at the urban area of Tokyo in comparison with the city of Paris, for example, we can see a kind of unique expansion of the urban area, especially this way. The urban area of the city of Tokyo expands along that railway line. And along the railway line, particularly around the train station, we can see this kind of shopping arcade. So from this fact, the city of Tokyo is called, as I told, the city of TOD. But today's topic is closely, actually that's true. For example, when we look at the town planning map or zoning map of a certain city, actually this is my nearest station, the zoning code is regulated for the commercial use along the train station here. Okay? So the point here is that the city of Tokyo is planned as a city of TOD. But I'm not sure. But when we look back to the look back the history, it may not. Let's see the planning history of Tokyo from a viewpoint of TOD. The point is that the city of Tokyo has been planned as a TOD city, or consequently become a city of TOD. That's the topic for my presentation today. Well, to save the time, let's start this photo. This is actually central business district or commercial area of the city of Tokyo, about 200 years ago. We have this kind of lower story building, commercial building made of wood, sometimes one story, just a single story or two stories. This kind of beautiful Mount Fuji. This was Tokyo about 200 years ago. But after that, the city of Tokyo was so-called modernized or westernized. Actually, if you know about the history of the country of Japan, Japan started to modernization and since the middle of 19th century. Before that, Japan was the country was closed. But after that, we started to open the country. Then the international trading was also encouraged after that. So the first modernized city of Tokyo was called Ginza district. So the government at the time tried to modernize the old-fashioned city of Edo. For example, the famous commercial district of Ginza was modernized with the western side brick building and the tramways and the pedestrian walks. Actually, we didn't have this kind of pedestrian walk before the modernization period, but this kind of so-called installation of the western cities were introduced to the city of Tokyo. Just around that time, not only the city of district of Ginza, but also in this is the planning map actually. In the governmental headquarters were also tried to be modernized by inviting Western urban planners. But in many cases, unfortunately, because the plan itself, including the modernization of Ginza district, the plan was too splendid to be implemented. So, for example, when we compare this planning map of the Hibiya district, a kind of government headquarters, to the present situation, we can say very little part of the original planning document, or the original plan was actually implemented. Then, but even if some of the kind of modernization project was not fully implemented, the government tried to modernize the city. The second innovative or benchmarking event was the enactment of the Tokyo Redevelopment Bylaw in 1888. Throughout this bylaw, the government tries to modernize the city of Tokyo, whole the city of Tokyo. Actually, this is the original of the urban planning. This is a kind of prototype of the urban planning institution of the city of Japan. Just remember the very first picture of the city of Tokyo in about 200 years ago with that Mount Fuji. The government tried to modernize the city like this through this bylaw. Yes. Then here we have to know the uniqueness of the urban development process that we, Japan or the metropolitan, Japanese metropolitan cities experienced. That is the development together with the railway construction. Actually, the first railway in Japan was started operation in 1872 between the central area of Tokyo and the port city of Yokohama. Then after that, the train network was established within 2 decades or 3 decades. For example, in the year of 1927, the first subway line was started its operation. I mean, actually, that was the first subway line in Asian countries that was oriented. In this way, the not only the intercity train, but also inner city train network was also established at the early 20th century. Then from here, there's a unique point. Sorry. For example, actually, for example, this is train map or train map of one private railway company named Tokyu. If you know about if you have some experience in Tokyo, this is very famous name. Here, what the railway company, such as Tokyu Railway Company, did is not limited to the railway construction, but also for the train company tries to build or develop a residential area along the railway line, such as Daienchofu. For example, in this case, the Tokyu Railway Company tried to open a residential area named Daienchofu by introducing the Western planning idea. In the case of Daienchofu, that famous Ebenezer Howard's Garden City idea was introduced. In addition to that, what railway company did is that they built department store at the terminal side. At one side of the terminal, their destination at the central area of Tokyo, and at the other side of destination, they prepared a kind of amusement park. So what the railway company expected, the commuters will use that train on weekdays from their residence, for example, from Daienchofu to the city center. And on weekdays, their family will enjoy shopping at the destination, or they can make a relaxation at the other side of the destination. In this way, the railway company tries to grasp the residents along the railway line from Monday to Friday, then Saturday and Sunday. This is their business model, and this can become a kind of prototype for the other railway company as well. But unfortunately, then finally, in the year of 1990, the old city planning law was enacted, under which major cities, including the city of Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, or Kyoto, and other cities were planned. Yet, unfortunately, for the city of Tokyo, we had the big earthquake in the year of 1927. This is a photo just after the disaster event. Unfortunately, the earthquake itself broke out just several minutes before the noon, when many households prepared their lunch by using fire. And very unfortunately, on that day, wind blew very hard from west to east. So in this way, this is Imperial Palace. In this way, the fire broke out in a certain place, easily spread and burned down the city of Tokyo after that. Then the reconstruction plan was prepared by a famous Japanese urban planner named Shinpei Goto. Around this time, we had an urban planner, the domestic urban planner, so that he prepared that urban plan. But unfortunately, due to the budget limitation, although Shinpei Goto tried to introduce ring road like this way, to 3 ring roads to restructure the urban area of the city of Tokyo. But unfortunately, due to the budget limitation, most of the achievement was the land readjustment project implemented mainly in the burnt down area. I mean, mainly in the eastern part of Tokyo. So after my presentation, please look up the aerial photo of the city center of Tokyo. You can see, you can clearly see that in the western part of Tokyo, we have a organic pattern of the street. On the other hand, in the eastern part of Tokyo, we can see the well-organized grid pattern. This is the kind of remain of a reconstruction project after the Great East Kanto earthquake in 1923. あと何分あります？ 10分ぐらい。5 minutes. Okay, good.
5 to 10 minutes, please.
5 to 10 minutes. Good. And the other event that hit the city of Tokyo, unfortunately, was the World War II. Due to the air raid during the World War II, this map shows the burnt down area of the central area of Tokyo. Most of the central area of Tokyo was burnt down. Then again, we had reconstruction plans for reconstructing the city of Tokyo. At that time again, the ring road, this time not limited to 3 ring roads, but also 8 ring roads were planned. Yet at that time, too, for example, this was the planned road. This was a dream for the city of Tokyo with the width of 100 meters. Yet unfortunately, due to the limitation and the political atmosphere around the time, this kind of 100-meter street was not realized in the city of Tokyo. So that even after the World War II, the urban structure of Tokyo was almost the same as the structure before the World War II. あと5分ぐらいか。Then, the country of Japan, after the World War II, we enjoyed the rapid economic growth. This graph shows the annual GDP annual growth rate, especially until the year of 1972, the higher economic growth rate was achieved as a country for Japan, and Tokyo, as well as other metropolitan cities, were the engine of this GDP growth or economic growth. So that when we look at the demographical trend of 3 metropolitan areas of Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, those 3 metropolitan cities attracted the inflow population from outside the regional area, the other areas, including my hometown, actually. Actually, my father also went out from our hometown to the city of Tokyo. In this way, increasing migrations appeared. Then we needed, again, to tackle with this rapid urbanization. For example, the famous architect Kenzo Tange proposed an idea named Tokyo Plan 1960. In this way, according to this plan, he tried to build a city over the Tokyo Bay in order to solve the problem of the migration. Yet at that time, then for the government side, in order to solve the problem of density at the central area of Tokyo, the central government tried to make the satellite city This is the central area of Tokyo. Satellite city around 40 to 60 kilometers from the center, or even 100 kilometers from the central area. Maybe like the city of Kuala, those satellite cities were planned and actually developed. Yet, the urban planning trend of Japan gradually shifted from this kind of plan-based to neoliberalism-based urban development, especially after the Redevelopment Act was enacted in 1963. That fosters the private-based redevelopment project. That was true because the industrial structure was changed around that time, and in the manufacturing industry moved out around that time to the surrounding Asian countries. So how to redevelop that vacant land after the industry was a critical issue around that time. That's why the private sector engaged in this kind of redevelopment project. Then after that, around the year of 2000, new urban policy was introduced under Prime Minister Koizumi, named Urban Renaissance Policy. Then the Urban Renaissance area was designated from the Hokkaido area till the city of Okinawa all over the world, of course, including the city of Tokyo. That fosters the private urban development. Then look at this illustration, for example. This illustration shows the skyscrapers in the central area of Tokyo, for example, by the completion year. Those skyscrapers built after 2000 are shown in red. So clearly we can see that increasing number of the skyscrapers encouraged by the private redevelopment project was being implemented after the urban renaissance period. Thus, yet we have to understand that on the one side, this kind of redevelopment project was implemented. Yet we still have this kind of densely populated area. Like this way. Or in the suburban area, this is a planned new town. Yet we have this kind of urban sprawling in this suburban area as well. Then, unfortunately, due to the very weak urban regulation, actually increasing number of development permissions were issued, even now are issued in the suburban area as well. Then what will happen under this decreasing population era at present? On the one hand, the private-based redevelopment is in boom in the central area of Tokyo, while in the suburban area, the population decrease is becoming very serious. Maybe this is closely related to the topic of Professor Yamataki coming on. For example, at the public houses in the suburban area, some of the public houses became vacant to break down. And sorry, the time is almost coming now, or already over. I'm not sure, but the most important message from lastly, I'd like to particularly give all the students a big message. This is a scene of suburban new town in Tokyo Metropolitan. And where this is? This is your familiar area, right? Just look at the window from your side. This is the city of Charlotte. This is the some district in the city of Tokyo with skyscraper and the densely populated area. Where is this? This is the city of Kuala Lumpur. Let's compare this photo. So the most important point here, although I'm talking about the and I highlight the uniqueness of the urban planning history of Tokyo, but the challenges that we face at present has commonality to some extent. That's why we need this kind of seminar to discuss and consider the way forward. Thank you very much once again for this opportunity. Saya berterima kasih atas perhatiannya. Thank you very much again. This is all my presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Norisa, for the talk. A very interesting story of Tokyo history and current scenario. I would like to share too my images of Tokyo. Okay, every day it was shaking due to the Great Tohoku earthquake 2011. And the most impressive is Shibuya, the wildest intersection, the busiest crossing in the world. And the train, which always full with people, especially during rush hour. And lastly, my very small house, which costed 60,000 yen, or ringgit Malaysia 2,400 per month. That was my images. Okay, next, I would like to introduce our second speaker, Professor Town Planner Dr. Jamalulaili Abdullah. Okay, Professor Jamalulaili is currently the Dean of the Faculty of Architecture, Planning and Surveying, UITM, and also a professor at the Center of Studies for Town and Regional Planning. Professor Jamalulaili received his PhD in City and Regional Planning from Cornell University, USA, Master in Urban and Regional Planning from Virginia Commonwealth University, USA, and Bachelor of Science in Urban and Regional Planning from East Carolina University, USA. His expertise are urban and regional planning, economic development, and social planning. So, Prof. Jamalulaili will give a talk on the planning history of KL, Kuala Lumpur. Please welcome, Prof.
Thank you very much, Dr. Linda, for the introduction. And we'll meet again. So sorry, this time I forgot to mention Professor Masumaru. Okay, Professor Masumaru. Okay, interesting presentation just now, and then Dr. Shima also interesting presentation about Tokyo. I have only been to Tokyo only once, so I had the opportunity to go there again because mostly been to Japan a few times, but most of the time I went to Kyoto 4 times because I was under collaboration with Kyoto University before the Faculty of Engineering in early 2000. Yeah. Okay, so Dr. Linda, how much time you have? 15 or half an hour, so I can time my presentation?
Half an hour.
Oh, half an hour, okay. Let me try to share my content. I hope it works this time. Okay. Does it come up? I'm sharing, but I'm having problem why it isn't. PC of Kuala Lumpur. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, Prof, but it's not in full screen yet.
Okay, let me see. Is it full screen?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I think somehow what happened is that now there are 2 screens. That's what happened rather than all of them in one screen. But okay, I'm going to talk on the planning history of Kuala Lumpur, and I try to make it really less than half an hour because we have two other presentations as well. And I think perhaps the students also have questions at the end of the whole session today. And then so I'm looking at the planning history of Kuala Lumpur. So I have quite a lot of slides, but then many of them are quite dry, but they're not as exciting as Dr. Shima's slide just now. Okay, but you can see that is really the skyline of Kuala Lumpur, the Petronas Twin Tower. It used to be the tallest building in the world when it was completed in around 1998. But I think after that it was surpassed by the building in Taipei 101, and after that by Burj Khalifa in Dubai. But it still holds the distinction of the tallest twin tower in the world. So at least we have that distinction of tallest twin tower. So I guess our Prime Minister Tun Mahathir, I think he has the foresight to think that people will want to build a building taller than that, but perhaps they will not build a twin tower as tall as that one. So for the distinction of the tallest twin tower in the world. And then it's quite interesting. It was during Tun Mahathir's time, he had the Look East policy, which is looking at Japan and South Korea as rather than looking to the Western countries like his predecessors. So the buildings were built by companies. One of them was given to Japanese company, the other one was given to South Korean company. So that's really quite interesting story about the Twin Tower, Petronas Twin Tower. Okay, and then so there's another one, okay, about how the Petronas Twin Tower looks like at night. So I saw the slide by Professor Matsumaru just now about the students learning English. So when the students from Toyo come again, then we can enjoy the Twin Tower. Okay. And it's quite interesting. This is like those of you in the urban design and architecture. This is the Islamic geometry. That's why the design is rather unique. Now, the building here now is no longer the tallest one in Kuala Lumpur. We have two other buildings that is taller than that. There's one in Tun Razak Exchange, is almost complete, and there's another one will be taller than that. It's called KMB 118, which is 118 stories. The Petronas Twin Tower is 88 stories high. Okay, so history of Kuala Lumpur. Unlike Tokyo, Kuala Lumpur is really rather a young city. Okay, so Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, these are considered as the young city in Asia. Okay. Singapore also started rather late as well. Okay. Of course, the old city of Southeast Asia will be Bangkok, and then maybe Jakarta, okay, and Manila. But Kuala Lumpur really started late. It's like 1850. So it's less than 200 years old. Okay. And so it really started because of tin. Okay, tin was found in the valley, in the Klang Valley, and then so what happened, it brought the interest. There was already Malay settlement there. Okay, so it brought the interest of the British, and also the British brought the Chinese from South China, and they worked in the mining field of the valley, and then that's basically how Kuala Lumpur started. So it's meant the Madi estuary. Okay. And then so it became a market town because of the tin, and it was transported to Klang, which is at the port. But it grew very fast. And just 30 years later, it became the capital of the state of Selangor. The Selangor is where our university is located. And Kuala Lumpur, it used to be part of Selangor as well. So in 1988, it was the capital of the state of Selangor and became the commercial hub of the state as well. Selangor is the most developed state of all the states in Malaysia. So the population grew fast in 10 years from 4,500, like it's 4 times increase to 20,000. And then we had our independence in 1957, and then in 1963 it became Malaysia when we had Singapore, Sarawak, and North Borneo, which is Sabah now. Of course, Singapore left the federation in 2 years later. So after Merdeka, Kuala Lumpur became the capital of Malaya and then Malaysia. So we like to call Kuala Lumpur KL. So that is the capital called KL, and then it was the federal capital of that. And then in 1962, Kuala Lumpur achieved the city status. And what happened was that there was also the federal territory. Before that, Kuala Lumpur was the capital of Malaysia as well as the capital of the state of Selangor. So the federal government bought Kuala Lumpur, and then there's an agreement with the Selangor state government. So Kuala Lumpur ceased from becoming part of Selangor, so it became what they call as a federal territory. Okay. So federal territory, and then so now federal territory would be under the federal government. Unlike the other states where the capital is under each of the states, the federal territory will be under the federal government. And then 1980, so City of Kuala Lumpur commemorated its 100 years. So this is really a brief background of Kuala Lumpur, which is, as I mentioned, a very young city in comparison to cities in Japan. And then, so this is looking kind of transformation of Kuala Lumpur in 1980s. And then Kuala Lumpur, what happened to Kuala Lumpur in 1980? Remember, this is just a couple of years before I went to the US to start my study. Okay? And then when I came back from the US, 13 years later, so around 13 years later, came back in 1997, Kuala Lumpur has changed a lot. Okay? And you see all these buildings here. It grew very rapidly, especially in the 1990s. Because what happened was that this is related to the economic development of Malaysia. That is, before 1980, most majority of the people lived in rural area because our main economy was agriculture and mining. Okay? In 1980, we were the largest exporter of palm oil, of rubber, of tin. We rely a lot on commodities. But what happened was that in 1983-84, the price of these commodities collapsed. It dropped by more than half. So what happened was that, and we had recession, and then that time of Tun Mahathir, he just became the prime minister. So Tun Mahathir Mohamad, he was saying that we need to change our economy from those dependent on agriculture to those dependent on manufacturing. So Malaysia was kind of the earliest country that opened our economy to foreign investment. Okay, so what happened was the recession was 86, 87. Starting in 1988, a lot of investments came to Malaysia, mostly from Japan. Okay, so there was also Japan also really at the height of its economic growth. Japan had lots of money that time, excess capital. I think this is like a Plaza Accord, so the yen appreciates. And then, so it's cheaper for Japanese manufacturing to be established overseas than in Japan. And then with surplus of capital, Japan would shift many manufacturing activities to other countries. And Malaysia was one of the earliest countries that opened its border for foreign investment. And then, of course, the earlier one would be Singapore, but we are the second. That was before Vietnam or Indonesia really opened up their territory, their border to foreign investment. So a lot of investments from Japan came to Malaysia. And then that's why we start to see a lot of Japanese supermarket as well. Sogo was established during the time. Okay? And then Matsushita all came here, and then our First National Card collaboration with Mitsubishi. A lot of Japanese investment, and then what happened was that then our economy shifted. Before 1986, our major economy, GDP, was from agriculture. By 1987, the largest contributor to our economy was manufacturing. And what happened was that when we had our census every 10 years, in 1990, for the first time, majority of the people in Malaysia live in urban areas. That was 50.4% in 1991. Okay. Before that, majority of the people live in rural areas, and more people moved to the urban areas because of economic opportunities in manufacturing industry and after that services. So now in Malaysia, the percentage of people who live in urban areas is more than 75%. So all of this being very rapidly over the years. Okay, and then so that's what you see Kuala Lumpur in 2020. Okay, and then in terms of the population, so this is Kuala Lumpur is down here. Okay, its population is not as big as Tokyo. It's 1.7 million. One of the reasons is because Kuala Lumpur is a federal territory, we cannot expand its boundary. Its boundary is like 248 square kilometers, and it's stuck at that 1.7 million. Okay, because most of the population growth are the cities outside of Kuala Lumpur, like Shah Alam. Our campus is located in Shah Alam. So Shah Alam is the new capital of Selangor. Okay, Dr. Shima just showed the photo of Shah Alam. Okay, so Shah Alam became the capital of Selangor in 1974 after the federal government bought Kuala Lumpur from the state of Selangor. So Shah Alam is only 20 kilometers from Kuala Lumpur. So most of the new population growth are in the outskirts of Kuala Lumpur. So Kuala Lumpur population does not grow very fast during the past 10 years. Okay, so now stand at 1.7 million. But the metropolitan around Kuala Lumpur has about 4 million, but 4.5 million people because of the growth around it, okay, or up to 5 million. Okay, of course, Tokyo is much larger than us because Tokyo is a mega city. In Southeast Asia, Kuala Lumpur Metropolitan considered a mega city because the mega city in Southeast Asia will be found in Jakarta and in Bangkok. Okay, and then so let's say the location of Kuala Lumpur. So this is whole area of Klang Valley, which is the most modern and most developed area of the whole of Malaysia. Okay, and then so around it, so Kuala Lumpur is surrounded by the state of Selangor, and Putrajaya is the new our administrative capital, and Putrajaya also part of the federal territory. And so this is the map showing the boundary of Kuala Lumpur here. Okay, and that is Kuala Lumpur, and then the rest of the area around it is the state of Selangor, where most development are located here. So this is the city of Kuala Lumpur, and down here is Putrajaya, the new administrative capital, and here to the left, to the first here, this is the Port Klang. So Port Klang is the West Port. Port Klang is in the top 10 busiest port in the world. So even though stiff competition from Singapore, even though Singapore is considered one of the busiest in the world, but the one in Port Klang is also in the top 10 in the world. Okay, and then our airport is down here, south of Kuala Lumpur. So this is basically showing you map of Kuala Lumpur. Okay, and then this is area of Kuala Lumpur, Petronas Tower, and this is district within Kuala Lumpur. So I mentioned is Kuala Lumpur area-wise is limited because the rest are around it is owned by the state of Selangor. So Kuala Lumpur cannot expand from this 248 square kilometers. Okay, and then so that is Putrajaya down here. Okay, so in Kuala Lumpur, we have what they call as the structure plan of Kuala Lumpur and then the local plan of Kuala Lumpur. So here during my presentation, first I share about Kuala Lumpur and then Metropolitan Kuala Lumpur, and then after that the governance of the plan. So my presentation is a bit more focused towards the planning because I'm actually an urban planner. So rather than looking at the history per se, but I'm looking more in terms of the planning perspective, what plan we have for Kuala Lumpur. So we have in Malaysia, we have what they call structure plan and local plan. What is the difference of these two? Structure plan comes first usually. So structure plan, they tend to be very general and it tend to be policy based. What are the policies? What are the strategy? And then they may have a map. Okay, but it's not very detailed. So the local plan is that you translate the structure plan into a local plan. So the local plan would show every lot very detailed what is the zoning and what is the land use allowed and what is the density. So you can see here on the left is the structure plan, which the map is kind of general, showing what is the main area of development, where the focus is going to be, and there's a lot of policies and strategies that accompany the structure plan. However, for the local plan, it is more focused on the land use, so it's going to show very, very detailed for every lot, what plot you want to. So this is like the blue one, so this is the main commercial center, and then you have the housing, so it goes to individual lot. So the two documents, the one that guide the planning of Kuala Lumpur, the structure plan and the local plan. Okay. And as I mentioned to you, in the metropolitan area, this is Kuala Lumpur. So this is the area that is expanding very rapidly around Kuala Lumpur. Okay. And then, so what you have here, next to Kuala Lumpur here, you have the district of Petaling, and here what you have, number 4 here, Shah Alam. That is where our campus is located, and Dr. Shima also came to Shah Alam during his visit 2 years ago. So this is about 20 kilometers from Kuala Lumpur, and then it goes to the Klang, and then Pelabuhan Klang means that is the Port Klang, okay, the top 10 of the busiest port in the world. So this is where the main development of Kuala Lumpur in the 70s. Okay, so in the 70s here, that's where the main development, and then during the last 10 years, the last 15 years, most of the development is going south. You see number 5 here, Putrajaya. Putrajaya is our new administrative center, also the vision of Tun Mahathir, our Prime Minister at that time. He wanted the government offices to move from Kuala Lumpur because KL was very congested at the time. So we built an administrative center from scratch. I think it becomes our pride in terms of urban planning. I'm sure Dr. Shima, he went to Putrajaya during his visit. So next time the students also be able to visit our new administrative center. So this is basically the development of the area around Kuala Lumpur. And then this is like the local authority, so the Kuala Lumpur City Hall, and then this is Petaling Jaya City Hall, and Subang Jaya City Hall, and then Shah Alam City Hall. So there are 3 cities around Kuala Lumpur, and then Putrajaya. Okay. So all of this, all together, this metropolitan area, if you add them up, the population now is almost 5 million people. Okay. Or maybe hitting almost 6 million people. That's our area of the metropolitan. Okay, and then this is the main project that was developed by the government, especially during the last 15 years, 20 years. Okay, so this is Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Okay, the new one. This is the old airport, Subang Airport, Sultan Abdul Aziz Shah Airport, and then this Port Klang here, our port, and then Sepang International F1 Secret, and then KLIA. So they are all located in the outskirts of Kuala Lumpur. Okay. So next one, I'm focusing on the development control of Kuala Lumpur. So as I mentioned to you, in Malaysia planning, we have the Act. So we have the Kuala Lumpur Planning Act of 1982. So the Act was established in 1982. So this is the Act to make provision for the control and regulation of proper planning in the federal territory of Kuala Lumpur. So under this Act, then we have to prepare the Kuala Lumpur Structure Plan and Kuala Lumpur City Plan, or this is the city plan, what we call this now the local plan. So such a plan, we focus more on the vision, goal, policies, and proposals for overall development of Kuala Lumpur over the next 20 years. And then the city plan or the local plan is that more specific objective, and then they are displayed for the public objective. So this is the Act, Federal Territory Planning Act 1982, okay, to govern the planning of this. Okay. So control and regulating of proper planning in Kuala Lumpur. We also have what we call here of Town and Country Planning Act 1976. So we have 2 planning acts. The difference is that Act 267, 1982, it only governed planning within Kuala Lumpur. The Town and Country Planning Act 1976, Act 172, this one covers the development of all areas outside the federal territory. So that means in Kuala Lumpur, they have their own planning act. Areas outside Kuala Lumpur, outside federal territory, they have their own act. So basically, as a town planner, they must know, are you within the federal territory or are you in the state? Okay, if in the state, then you have to follow Act 170. So that is Planning Act Kuala Lumpur. So this development control. So with that, because Kuala Lumpur is not part of any state, because if you are in the state, then you are governed by the chief minister. So in Kuala Lumpur is governed directly by Ministry of Federal Territories. Okay. So in Malaysia, the local authorities, they are appointed by the state. Okay. Before that, we had election, but the election stopped in the mid-60s. So we don't have local election, only election for the state and the federal assembly. Okay. So we have the Minister of Federal Territories responsible for planning of KL, and then we have the advisory board, okay, to advise the minister. So I was part of the advisory board for about 1 year. Okay, and then the minister gives the attention on this. So development control plan. So we also Kuala Lumpur, we have the Vision 2020 that is for us to be developed country by 2020. We still have to go a bit more to achieve that. So we also have the Kuala Lumpur Structure Plan 2020. So now we are DPKL Kuala Lumpur City Hall in the process of preparing this structure plan until 2040. Mentioned to you the structure plan, the local plan usually at the time span is about 20 years. And then so that's the structure plan, it's about planning policy. Okay. Till 2020, and then it's a bit flexible. The emphasis on the social, economic, physical, traffic, and the environment. Okay, so now they are preparing the structure plan 2040. It's already completed now. It's through the process of being reviewed by the panel. Okay, and then so this is the city plan. So after the structure plan, then KL would develop its own city plan until City Plan 2020. And then so this was also made available to the public. Okay, and then so during this time, okay, I was part of the panel that when there's public objection, there were like 65,000 public objections. So I was part of the panel appointed by City Hall to review this objection and to listen and then to review this. So this one now they are doing a local plan 2040 at the same time. And then, okay, that is the framework, okay, city plan, economic development, public transportation. So it's basically translated the structure plan policies into individual laws. Okay, so this is the primary framework for development strategies. Okay, and then, so now, what we have is that the Kuala Lumpur City region to shift into the new agenda. So this is what KL is trying to do, is promoting urban and green landscape. We like to conserve our forest environment because a lot of when we do the urban sprawl, a lot of them, many of our green area has been converted into other lands. Okay. And then I'm going to cover a bit about Metropolitan Kuala Lumpur, which is area beyond the hill here, at the back here. Okay. So that is basically okay, a new focus with this. And what happened is that for the area, what they call as Metropolitan Kuala Lumpur, now the population 2009 is already 5.9 million. Okay. So now the population of Metropolitan is almost 7 million. Okay, and urban areas, as I mentioned to you, Kuala Lumpur was only 268, but in the area surrounding this Metropolitan is like 1,500 square kilometers, and then the population density as well. Okay. So this is population growth rate like 3.5 per year. So what you can see, this is the build-up. Okay, so build up. So in 1990 is they are mostly this area in red. Like that is, as I mentioned to you, of the development from Kuala Lumpur here going to the west to the port, to Port Klang. So that's where most development. But what happened was that after 1990, you see the blue area are the new development. So it has expanded. So this is the same history what happened in Tokyo. Like Tokyo expanded into the new area. And then we are also seeing that in Metropolitan Kuala Lumpur. Okay, And the last part is on planning and governance. So this is related town planning here. Okay, what happened is that new town planning, okay, British Empire, so for the new plan. And then we have the municipal ordinance and then town improvement enactment of 1917. Okay, and see the first town planner for at that time we didn't gain our independence yet, so we had like certain states like Selangor and Perak, they were what they call as federated Malay state. So the British, they appointed this town planner, Charles Reid was appointed as the first town planner in Malaysia 1921. So that's why this year the town planning in Malaysia is celebrated is 100 years. So we have a lot of events planned for this year, 100 years of town planning in Malaysia. So all of you from KUNC are invited to come to join us after COVID-19 is under control. Okay, and then so this is CAP 137, Town Board Enactment, and then what happened was that it was changed and then it was established into what they call as Town and Country Planning Department in 1958. So the first Director General of this Town Country Planning was a British, but from 1960 the Director General was Malaysian. Okay, and then so I mentioned to you our Act here. So Act 267 here is only for Federal Territory, so Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya and Labuan. And then this one, Town and Country Planning Act, Act 172 cover all areas outside of Federal Territory. And then we have also Act for Town Planner to govern and regulate the planning profession. So these are the three main acts deal with town planning in Malaysia. So based on this act, that every state would have its structure plan, and then so at the federal level we have the national physical plan, at the state we have the structure plan, and then at the district level we have the local plan, and then for a smaller area within the district, special area, we have special area plan. So we have the 4 levels of planning in this. Okay, and then so this is the Plan Malaysia Town and Country Planning Department. So it has at the 3 levels here, and then this is basically what they do. That the federal level advises the federal government on the land development issue. At the state level, the state advise the state planning committee, and then the local level, the local authority like City Council of Kuala Lumpur or City Council of Shah Alam, then oversees the development of the district. Okay, and then so this is the evolution of this. So this is what we have all this plan here. Okay, the responsible body, we have the National Physical Council, and we have 5-year major plan. Okay, and then we have at the regional level, regional planning committees, and then at the state level also planning committee, and the local authority, we have the local commercial authority. So we have like all the 4 levels that I mentioned to you just now. Okay. And then, so this is about Kuala Lumpur towards a smart city. Okay, want to improve infrastructure and infrastructure, also smart living. This is smart city components. And then just to show to you some of the photos of Kuala Lumpur, okay, City Park. And of course, when you take the photo of Kuala Lumpur, it's always the tallest twin tower in the world is always prominent. So this is the new palace of our government, of our king. And then this is like our first administrative building in Kuala Lumpur. Okay. So with that, I thank you for your time and attention on this. Okay, thank you.
Professor Jamal for your great introduction about the history of Kuala Lumpur. Okay. And it's quite impressive to know the long history of the big scale development. And it is same as in case of Tokyo, that we found they have several stages to become metropolitan big city. And also there we found several different acts and planning at a different level. So thank you very much. We could learn a lot about the Kuala Lumpur. ありがとうございます。Okay, thank you very much. So after the big scale discussion or presentation, we would like to move to the second part of the speakers. The second lecture is about more, we do the scale down, but for the detail and more, we can learn the more practical situations. Okay, next I would like to introduce the third speaker at this lecture session. Third speaker is Professor Yoshito Yamazaki from Toyo University. Let me introduce him. So Professor Yamazaki is a professor at the Department of Regional Development Studies, Faculty of Global and Regional Studies in Toyo University. And Professor Yamazaki received his PhD, Master, and Bachelor in Architecture in Waseda University in Japan. And he has conducted various projects with local organizations and local communities, mainly in Japan. By his academic achievement for revitalization of the cities and regions, so he was awarded the prize of Architectural Institute of Japan last year, 2020. So Professor Yamazaki will give us the talk on the revitalization of Akiya in Japan. So please welcome.
Thank you for introduce. Thank you, moderators, Dr. Kozue and Dr. Haselinda, and thank you, Dr. Jamai and Dr. Robia Adgur, and the students and all participants. I'm glad to join the workshop, but I'm not good at English actually, so I can't speak fluently like the two panelists so far. So I wrote what I will talk to you. If you cannot understand, please read them. I think you can understand that. So, okay, let me start. Can you see the slide?
Yes, we can clearly. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Professor of Community Planning and Design at RDS Toyo University. Today, I would like to talk about Akiya. Akiya is a Japanese word. What does it mean? Aki means vacant. Ya means house. So, Akiya means vacant house. Recently, in Japan, the vacant house problem has become serious. And there has been a lot of movement of revitalized community by renovating vacant houses. I'm going to talk about these movements. First, I would like to talk about the background of Akiya. The graph shows the number of houses, and the number of vacant houses, and the rate of house vacancy in Japan. In 2013, the number of vacant houses were about 8 million houses. 1 in 7 was vacant. In 2033, it is predicted that 1 in 3 will be vacant. You can understand vacant houses are increasing dramatically like this. Why is the situation happening? One of the reasons is that baby boomers are aging and many are dying. As of 2019, the population of the elderly ages 65 and over was the highest ever at about 36 million. Japan has the highest aging rate in the world in 2019. they decided to vacate their houses. The other reason is the population decline. The figure shows young people move from rural areas to metropolitan areas. As living costs are very high in metropolitan areas, making it difficult to raise children. In rural areas, young people are decreasing, and in metropolitan areas, children are decreasing. And isolated people are increasing because of the declining birth rate and aging population. In Japan, population has been decreasing since 2004. I'm going to show you some photos of vacant houses. The photo of the left side is a vacant townhouse. The right side is a vacant village house. Neighborhoods become empty, not only in rural areas. This photo shows a shopping street of a city. The shutters are closed, and there are few people. Except for big cities, Japanese neighborhoods are in such a situation all over the country. Especially since 2000, that has become more serious. This is a closed primary school in a rural area. Public facilities such as schools are also closing. What we have seen so far is the reality of Japan, where the population is decreasing, not growing. I want you to think about that. Please consider the future of your country. The fruits of economic growth seems to be available only to the baby boomers. Please keep your neighborhood sustainable. Secondly, I would like to talk about the renovation idea for revitalizing neighborhoods. Recently, in Japan, the cases of revitalizing neighborhoods by renovating IKEA are increasing rapidly. Renovation is the act of modifying the interior or exterior on existing buildings, realizing new usages. It is possible to keep low costs. It is attractive that local people can easily work on it with DIY. When a vacant house is regenerated by renovation, the characteristic of neighborhood could be kept, and the new usages could be created. Neighborhood could be revitalized by spreading such renovated buildings in the neighborhood. The method is now being practiced nationwide. Many of these buildings are used as semi-public space by people to drop in and to interact with each other, such as guest house, shared house, co-working space, and so on. Next, I would like to introduce practices at Toyota City. That is a small local city I have lived for 3 years. Toyota City is located in western Japan and faces the Sea of Japan. Toyota is here. A huge earthquake happened in Toyota City about 100 years ago. The photo shows the city burning. During the reconstruction, many Western-style buildings were built in the main area of the city. These are the buildings Unfortunately, the post office was destructed, but the other two buildings are renovated. The photo of the upper left side is preserved old city hall. You can see the new city hall was built in behind it here. A square for local people was built in front of the building, as shown in the upper right side photo. The second floor was renovated into a parliament hall, as shown in the lower left side photo. This one. The third floor was renovated into a workshop space, as shown in the lower right side photo, like this. The building of Old Bank was renovated to hotel and restaurant, shown in the color photos. Not only Western-style buildings, but also Japanese-style private houses are actually constructed about 100 years ago. However, such buildings were vacant or demolished because they are no longer profitable. So I rented the vacant house with my associates and renovated to use as shared space. At first, the house was very dirty, such as a bat lived in. We started to clean it up. The photo shows shoji paper was replaced. The kitchen was quite damaged, so to restore the room, we replaced the floor and painted the walls. We removed all the electrical wiring that we no longer need, and changed the lighting to a fashionable one. Simply changing the lighting to suit the building improves the atmosphere of the building. After setting up Wi-Fi, local creative people gathered. They each have their own things to do. At the time, in the countryside of Japan, there weren't many places where locals could freely use Wi-Fi. Gradually, the house became a place where various local people gathered. We held a small concert in the house. They were local musicians of bossa nova. We also had a reading session by an actor. Events can be held in old Japanese houses. We had a small meeting to listen to a traveler who has been to about 100 countries. The man who has a red and black cross is the traveler. You can see people was paying attention. I opened my collection of books to locals. These books were about community design, urban planning, architecture, landscape, etc. It was like this. When I left Toyota and went to Tokyo, the local held a farewell party for me. The center person is me. You can see the T-shirt design my face. Nowadays, many vacant houses renovated are being utilized by locals. The photos are some of these. Toyota seems to be revitalized a little. I think recently Japan, not only symbolic historical buildings, but also ordinary houses should be preserved for keeping neighborhoods alive and lively. For that, we need to involve a lot of locals. That's all my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Yoshito Yamazaki, for the talk. I like your last sentence, not only symbolic historical buildings, but also ordinary houses should be preserved for keeping neighborhood alive and lively. Where in Malaysia, the population issue, especially in the rural area, is not as crucial as in Japan. However, empty and abandoned buildings, including abandoned housings, empty houses, are also challenges for the planning development. Okay? Where our biggest issues are especially when abandoned houses like this usually are likely to contribute increasing number of crime, where they are used by the drug addicts and also by the homeless. So that is the biggest issue of our empty houses and buildings. And also, I think that I agree that the local people must be involved, must be the main, person that be involved in this kind of movement. Okay, next, I would like to introduce our fourth speaker, Dr. Robia Abdul Rashid. Dr. Robia is currently a senior lecturer at the Center of Studies for Building Surveying, UITM, in the same faculty of Architecture, Planning and Surveying. She received her PhD in Building Conservation from University Science Malaysia, Penang, Master of Science in Architectural Conservation from Heriot-Watt University, Scotland, UK, and Bachelor in Building Surveying from UITM. Dr. Robia was the Director of Conservation Division in the National Heritage Department at the Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture, Malaysia, from 2014 to 2018. So her expertise are heritage building conservation and maintenance. So today, Dr. Robia will give a talk on the revitalization of historical buildings in Malaysia. Please welcome Dr. Robia.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon. Honorable Dean, professors and speakers, dear colleagues and students. So first of all, I would like to express my gratitude and appreciation to Dr. Linda and her team from UITM and Toyo University for inviting me as one of the speakers today. So it seems that I will be the last speaker for today, so I hope all participants is still wide awake, so I can see the numbers actually is keep reducing from time to time, but it's okay. Anyway, I will try my very best today to share with all of you on one of my experience involving in one of the most important national projects in Kuala Lumpur. So I choose this project actually because it's very close to me, as I've been involved in the implementation of this project from early stage to the completion. Okay. Why is it I cannot share? Yeah. Why suddenly I cannot share, Dr. Linda? There's no button here. Suddenly it's missing. Just now I have the screen. Yes, share. Okay. Can you see my slide? Why I cannot hear anyone speaking?
Yes, Dr. Robia, we can see.
Okay, good. Okay, so the topic that I will share today is Greater Kuala Lumpur, revitalization of heritage quarters. Sorry, why is it like this? Suddenly something wrong actually with my slide. Sorry, I try to share it again. Why is it like this? Oh, suddenly my screen actually is missing, Dr. Linda. Is it full screen? Okay, sorry. Sorry for this.
Or can we have Mr.
No.
Nurul to help?
Okay, sorry. Well, actually, it keeps changing my screen. Okay. So, okay, this is my everyday view from the office actually since 2015. Actually, in 2018, when I was first clocked into the new office of the National Heritage Department of Malaysia, I was assigned with this special project, which is to oversee any matters related to heritage conservation issues pertaining to National Heritage Act 2005, Act 645, the act actually for our heritage building, and the guidelines of heritage building conservation in Malaysia. So actually dealing with one of the national projects under the national agenda is no joke. Through this project, I had learned so much. So I had to deal directly with many important leaders in the country, including the former Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Najib Razak. So we had to work hand in hand with the Federal Territory Ministry, KL City Hall, and many others who involved directly and indirectly in this project. So actually this project involved countless meetings and discussion, hundreds of decision makings, workshops, etc. It was really challenging, but the experience gained is priceless. So if you look at the slide, actually you can see the progress of the project, where at your left side you can see the photo in 2016, and in 2017 after the Blue Pond project has been completed. So these two photos actually I just captured from my office balcony. So from 2015, this is my everyday view. Okay, so River of Life is one of the Malaysian government economic transformation projects, which combine high impact initiatives to elevate the country to developed nation status. So the ROL actually is set to bring the community back to the river through connecting, transforming, and invigorating the river context into a vibrant waterfront, embracing the city's rich historical, cultural, and heritage values, and reconnecting it to the surrounding urban fabric. Okay, so this project is expected to spur economic investment into the immediate surrounding areas, acting as a catalyst for long-term development in the region. And upon full completion, the ROL actually is expected to deliver affordable housing for more than 35,000 new residents, 1 million square meters of commercial space, more than 27,000 new employment opportunities, raise public transportation usage within the master plan area from 15 to 60%, and reduce traffic demand by 15%. Okay, so this is the project info. So the project name is the River of Life Phase 1. So this is actually, under this River of Life, they have about 11 precincts. So the one that I'm presenting and I'm sharing today is only on the precinct 7, where this precinct 7 actually also known as KL Heritage Quarters, which comprises of 11 nodules of heritage building. So it has been completed in December 2017, which covers the total site area of 7.8 million square meters, with a river length of 10.7 kilometers. So the project owner is KL City Hall under the Ministry of Federal Territories, while the Heritage Authority is the National Heritage Department itself. And below you can see the name of the project consultants. Right. So River of Life Master Plan covers 10.7 kilometer spread of riverfront. So the 4.4 billion project encompasses a 10.7 kilometer spread of riverfront through Kuala Lumpur's historic core, including the confluence of the Gombak and Klang River. So with a total area of 781 hectares and 63 hectares of water bodies. So this basically actually, in this precinct 7 actually involves one of the core areas at the confluence of the Gombak and Klang River, right? So actually this ROL project is divided into 3 main stages of work. So basically it focusing on the river cleaning, river beautification and river economics. So the river cleaning actually is under the Department of Irrigation and Drainage of Malaysia. And so which actually to be carried out over 4 phases and 11 phases. Okay, so this ROL Precinct 7 actually comprises of 11 nodules of heritage building. So that is why we call this area as heritage quarters. So all these buildings actually is not part of the project scope, but since all of it has been gazetted under the Act, so it is the responsibility of the National Heritage Department and the project team to ensure that anything done within the area will not disturb a building structure and give any negative impact to it. So from the slide, you can see the 11 nodules of heritage building that contain in the area, which is Bangunan Sultan Abdul Samad, Old High Court KL, Panggung Bandaraya DBKL or City Theatre, Royal Selangor Club, St. Mary Cathedral, former KL Music Museum, Kuala Lumpur City Gallery, National Textile Museum, Central Market, and former Industrial Court Building and KTMB Building. So all of these buildings, actually, if you notice that the building has been built from 1800 to 1900 during the British colony. Okay, if you look at the area, actually the most important nodules in this area is the Merdeka Square, which is surrounded by many heritage buildings and facing with the most prominent heritage building in Malaysia, which is Sultan Abdul Samad Building. So Merdeka Square was where the Union flag was lowered and the Malaysian flag hoisted for the first time on 31st August 1957. So 31st August 1957 is our National Day. Okay, during the early stages of the project, the team studied successful water-facing public areas around the world to get the idea on how and what is actually the best approach to be opted for the River of Life. And so the case study, including Cheonggai-cheon in South Korea, Kunshan Civic Plaza in China, Clarke Quay in Singapore, and Chicago Waterfront, USA, and learn how they became successful in attracting the communities to embrace the locations not just as tourist destinations, but as part of their urban fabric. So these lessons actually were then localized and incorporated into the ROL master plan, having taken into account the local culture, history, aspirations, and environment. Okay, so this photo showing one of the oldest mosques in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and also located just at the confluence of the Klang and Gombak River. So Jamai Mosque, officially named as Sultan Abdul Samad Jamai Mosque in 2017. Okay, so this mosque actually was built in 1909, and where actually it has an earlier historical importance as the place the first settlers landed. Okay, so the architect was A.B. Habet, who designed the mosque in Indo-Saracenic style, loosely reflecting Indian Muslim Mughal architectural style. So if you notice, in terms of the architectural style of the building that is located within these heritage quarters, most of them actually has been designed in Mughal architecture or Indo-Saracenic style. Because there is a reason why actually most of the buildings have been designed in that way, but I'm not going to explain it today. Okay, so this is the old photos of Masjid Jamai. So this is a very old photo. Actually, during the early project implementation, Okay, actually, what I want to show you from this photo, if you look carefully, you may notice that in front of the mosque, actually there is a staircase. Okay? So can you see the staircase there? So actually during the early project implementation, so the existence of the grand staircase of Masjid Jamai has been identified. Okay, so actually history has been literally dug up at the confluence of the two rivers that inspired the name of Malaysia's capital, Kuala Lumpur. Okay, so this is the view of the grand staircase in 1910, where actually if you see early photos and drawings of the mosque, all old photos of the mosque, so the grand staircase actually is featured quite prominently in most of the photos. So a perspective painting of the mosque that had been in the possession of Habib's grandson, so Dr. Peter Barbo. So we managed actually to obtain this photo from Habib's grandson. So he is now staying in London, and showed that the steps were imagined to be a place of human activity, as well as the landing spot for sampans or the small boats, and act as an important mode of transport in the past. So it is not impossible actually to believe that people will also perform their ablutions at the steps in the river water. But of course, during those days, the water is not like you see today. The water maybe the water is very clean during that time. Okay. So now actually, if you want to compare, the water is like I don't know whether in Japan you are familiar. It's like a teh tarik. So we call it as a teh tarik. Okay. So due to developments such as transportation system, actually you see this photo, the steps slowly started to disappear. So if you look at this photo, there's no more grand staircase in front of the mosque. So in photo as early as the late 1930s, the riverbank had been shot up, and the lower half of the steps concealed under the soil. The perimeter wall, originally designed to directly touch the water, was also half hidden behind a bank of soil. So it was around the time when the LRT was being built that the concrete riverbank was built and the step is disappeared. So actually, this to show you how important actually is the grand staircase, and it can be considered as one of the high significant elements actually to the mosque. Okay, so this is during the early stages of project implementation, when the contractor do the excavation work, and suddenly they found something which actually leads to the discovery of lost history. So this project actually is very interesting because before the project started, we never know that there is a staircase beneath the ground. Okay. Sorry. So actually the findings is unexpected, and it was to everyone's surprise that the staircase is, you just imagine, the staircase has been buried for so many years, but in 2000, I think in 2015, so after the excavation has been done, so it was found that the staircase is still 80% intact, despite having been buried for so many years. So the National Heritage Department has instructed the KL City Hall to immediately stop work in order to give way for further research by the project conservator. And after a thorough study and investigation, the National Heritage Department insisted the KL City Hall to reconstruct and preserve the staircase. So actually, we really have to fight for this matter. So we table the matter. So we prepared all the paperwork and table the matters in the parliament to get the approval from the parliament in order to proceed with this conservation of the grand staircase. So this is then the original master plan of the ROL has been shifted a bit to include the grand staircase as part of the ROL rejuvenation plans in the area. Okay, so this is me actually. This is an old photo in 2000. I can't remember when, but this is me with the project conservator and KL City Hall team during one of the site visits. So basically, we did this every week, sometimes a few times a week. In fact, my staff will go there every day just to ensure everything is executed properly according to law and regulations. Okay, so this is the view of grand staircase during the construction. So the structure actually is made of clay bricks and lime mortar, so which had been preserved accordingly. So the dilapidated parts actually we reinstate actually the one. So this is the photo from top. This is taken using drone during the reconstruction and the conservation of the grand staircase. So if you look at the photo at your right side, so you can easily see that the location of the grand staircase is exactly at the confluence of the Klang and the Gombak River. So this is a very important point where actually the name of Kuala Lumpur derives. Okay, so once the conservation of the grand staircase completed, so if you can see at the back, so the project is completed. So together with all other works, like Pedestrian Bridge and everything, so I'll show you later that one. The former Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Najib Razak, made his first visit to see the project, and actually during the visit, I still remember when we, after we presented the project to him, and he see the condition of the area, so he immediately asked us, so where is the river of life? Because he expected the water is clean and look good. And actually this is where the idea of having the Blue Pond project came in. Okay. So you now you look at this photo. You look at the photo of the grand staircase at the back. And sorry, so this is during the visit. So that's me actually after presenting to the Prime Minister. And this photo actually showing how actually the Blue Pond project looks like. And so the glass wall had been constructed to create a pond just at the feet of the grand staircase. So half part of the staircase actually is submerged in the water, in the pond actually. Okay, so this is the photo of a completed Blue Pond project. If you go to the place now, so you can see like the photo lah, but the photo during night actually this is during the launch, so you might not be able to see the same photo like this. Okay. Okay, the project scope involved under the Blue Pond project are using treated water from interceptor system, water fountain with changeable pattern effect, symphony dancing fountain with lighting system, fogging system for cooling and aesthetic effect. So actually it gave some environment, a new environment, and it gave some cool effect actually. And when you go to the place and during the system operates, because the system is not operate 24 hours. Okay, so this new pedestrian bridge, this is one of the components that contains in the project. The new pedestrian bridge, which actually able to improve connectivity by cutting walking distance from Masjid Jamai, from the Jamai Mosque to the Merdeka Square. Where the original design actually, so I just want to touch on the design of this bridge. The original design proposed by the project architect is actually originally is quite glaring and bulky, which actually totally obstructed a view towards heritage buildings. So that is actually our main concern, and we work accordingly to what has been stated in the National Heritage Act 2005 and the Conservation Guidelines of Heritage Building. So after many discussions and brainstorming, so the department then requested the architect to revise the design and to make the design more moderate. So this is why the design of the bridge, you look today at the place, it looks more simple and slim with the usage of glass and steel. But the first design that has been proposed to us actually, the bridge actually is made from concrete structure, which totally obstructed the view. Okay, so this photo showing my son standing in the middle of the pedestrian bridge. And so I think I made a visit to the place I think last month just to prepare this slide, especially for you guys, and so that you can see the latest version of the place. Okay, so this photo actually showing the pedestrian boardwalk along the river with a reflective pool at one side and a nice landscape on the other side. And so before the project completed, actually public are not allowed to use this area because this is a restricted area where if you can see, I show you. Okay, so this is another view from the pedestrian boardwalk. So the heritage building that you see in this photo is Sultan Abdul Samad building, which currently used as the National Heritage Department office. So that is why before the project completed, public are not allowed to use this area because the government actually tried to restrict the public circulation near the government office to avoid any bad incidents and so on. Okay, so this is the view from the Blue Pond towards Sultan Abdul Samad building. So you can see some Kuala Lumpur skyline from the photo. Okay, so this is the image showing the water pump station that has been conceived in the area. So this is on part of the, I think, the urban design. Okay, what I want to show you from this photo, so this is the same thing that we are facing, as a pedestrian bridge. So this photo actually showing the guiding gallery. So if you can see from the photo, the guiding gallery actually comprises of 3 blocks, 1, 2, 3, the glass building. So similar to the pedestrian bridge, the original design presented to the National Heritage Department was quite glaring. And the design actually in the proposed design was in solid wall, which totally obstructed the view, the heritage building. So at the back of the guiding gallery, you may notice that there is a heritage building at the back. So after many discussion and arguments, the architect was then requested to revise it. So actually, it's not easy to ask the project team to revise the design because everything has been completed and they already obtained the design approval from KL City Hall. So the National Heritage Department we have to work very hard even in order to get this thing revised. So me and my Director General at that time, so we have to present the case personally to the Prime Minister. So it's quite challenging for us in the first place, but after the completion of the project, actually, we are really happy with the outcome. And somehow, there is a lot of hiccups here and there in the project. I think it's quite normal, but somehow we managed to get it done properly. Okay, so this is the photo showing the original balustrade that's still preserved as it is in the area, just to remind us that the balustrade is there at one time. Okay, so this is again the balustrade with the old trees at the area. Okay, so this is the photo showing the view of Blue Pond project. Okay, when the system fully operates. So the fountain and the fog normally works at interval, and actually it depends on the setting by the KL City Hall. So you will not get this view all the time. Okay. Okay, so this is the photo showing the fountain in front of the Jamai Mosque. Okay, so I just show you photos. So this is the view of the boardwalk to the Blue Pond during night time. Okay, so this photo actually during the launching ceremony that has been held in 2017. So the launching ceremony was purposely held during night time so that the system can be presented to the Prime Minister. Okay, this is the photo from the top during night time. So it is quite beautiful. And this is the photo at the side of the Jamai Mosque towards the Blue Pond project. Okay, this is again the photo showing the pedestrian bridge on the top and also the heritage building that is located around it. Okay, this is again another photo showing of the pedestrian bridge. Okay, this is photo showing the fountain. Okay, so under the river beautification ROL phase 1, Pristine and the Blue Pond project. So after the project completed, so it will able to create activities, a lot of creativity for the communities. So if you go there during weekends, I think you can't even walk properly because there were so many people during weekends. So that was not happened before the ROL project completed. So it comes with the buskers, art and painting activities from the local artists, and it actually boosts a tourism value, a vibrant and livable waterfront, and also it gives a water touching experience. Even though you only manage to touch the water in the pond, not in the river. So and the guiding gallery, info and cafe for activities. Okay. So in terms of the project achievement, so the first phase of the project actually was able to achieve 5 big moves that transformed the intersection of the Klang and Gombak rivers, which is the historical heart of the city. So the first was the removal of old dilapidated buildings that obstructed Masjid Jamai entrance. So a grand staircase located at the river confluence, which was hidden for decades, had been reconstructed to its former historical glory. Secondly, a pedestrian bridge was constructed to connect Merdeka Square to Masjid Jamai, a move that increases the walkability of the area, encouraging higher visitor traffic and providing faster connection to the Masjid Jamai LRT station. A flat wall and extended boardwalk were added, while a heritage balustrade was preserved. The third one was the engagement of historical buildings in the area, such as the Sultan Abdul Samad building, by opening them up to the public. So the perimeter fence was removed for a greater accessibility and to reveal the beauty of the heritage building, while car parks have been replaced with dedicated bicycle paths and pedestrian sidewalk. The project has also connected Merdeka Square with tourist destinations such as Petaling Street and Central Market, and open up Lebuh Pasar Besar, the market square in KL, one of the most significant place in Kuala Lumpur as well, in downtown KL. So creating a vantage viewing point facing the mosque and the river confluence. And finally, better path connections and a proper viewing platform reveals Jamai Mosque as an icon in the heart of the city and encourages locals and tourists alike to learn more about its history and significance in the growth of early Kuala Lumpur. So as a conclusion, ROL is important for Kuala Lumpur on many levels, as it highlights the birth context of the city and raises awareness of the importance of the Gombak and Klang rivers, as well as their delicate ecosystem. The immediate impact can already be seen in Precinct 7, where pride and ownership have returned to the immediate urban context, raising both social standing and unlocking economic value to a once overlooked downtown area. tourism has risen, and with further work, pedestrian connectivity will spur growth and development in the vicinity. And through rigorous efforts in design and planning for the heritage quarters of Kuala Lumpur, namely Jamai Mall, Sultan Abdul Samad Building and the rest, the river confluence area is now given a complete new life that brings back the iconic value and identity of the city through strategic move to integrate, connect and rediscover the public realm. Spaces once restricted are now open for public enjoyment and experience. People will be able to appreciate all the heritage buildings located within the area and learn more about the history of Kuala Lumpur. And this is one of many steps taken to reclaim the riverbeds into Kuala Lumpur. So I think if one day Toyo University plan to come to Kuala Lumpur, so I would suggest that you should bring you and your students, should visit this place first before you go to KLCC. Okay, so I end my presentation with this one quote. Okay, there's nothing wrong with building contemporary structures. Every city needs them, but there's no need to destroy one's heritage in the process. Okay, so with that, thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu. Actually, I have a video presentation. So do I still have time to show it?
Yes, we can show the video.
All right, sure. Okay, so before I show the video, I just want to share with all the professors that, actually there is a book here. Actually, there is a book about if you want to know more about the history of Kuala Lumpur, so there is the book here called Sultan Puasa, Founder of Kuala Lumpur. So this is actually published by Areka Books. So actually you can buy the book online. So if you keen to know more about Kuala Lumpur history, then you may want to buy this book online. It costs, I think it costs around 200 Malaysian ringgit. How much that in yen, Dr. Linda?
Around 6,000 yen.
6,000 yen.
Yes.
Oh, yen. And okay, and I also like to take this opportunity to promote this one book as well. There is this one book. Actually, this is very good because this is one of the examples of how one of our National Heritage Building project that has been implemented. This is for Lok Chau Kit Building. And formerly, this is the former office of the Board of Architects of Malaysia. So this is very interesting, but I'm not sure whether this can be bought online, but this actually can be buy from our bookshop in Kinokuniya in KLCC. Okay, so let me share you my video. Okay. Right. Yes, I think that's all from me today. So I hope actually that will bring some message either to all the speakers that we have today and all the students that we have here. So maybe we can learn something from the presentation that I did just now. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Lobiat, for your wonderful and latest and quite nice presentation about your project. So I'm sure when I visit KL last time, I also could enjoy the both sides of the modernized skyscraper with the skyscrapers with a modernized area, and also the heritage side. There are many historical heritage buildings inside the city, and I really enjoyed. But I'm sure next time I need to go there with our students and our colleagues. And it was nice. And from your video, I also enjoyed the sound of the river and the water. And I'm sure it makes the change the mind of the people. They are living in the city, center of the city, but they can feel the meaning of the history, and they can feel the nature as well. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. Okay, now we have the session of the question and answer from the participants. So Dr. Linda and I will read the question from the Q&A box for the speakers to answer. So far, we got the question from the one participant from the Malaysia, and let me show the question. The question is maybe to the Professor Yamazaki, and the question is: in Japan, the initiative to vitalize the rural area started from government or community. So,
thank you for your question, but I'm not good at English, as you know. So let me speak in Japanese, okay? Please translate.
okay.
そう、なんて言えばいいか、日本の街づくりの場合は、ガバメントのもちろんサポートっていうか、イニシアティブももちろんあって、それも、特に、高度経済成長以降ぐらいからスタートしていると思うんですけど、同じ頃、その高度経済成長期ぐらいに、その高度経済成長の反動で、特にルーラルエリアから始まっているんだけど、自分たちの街は自分たちの街でどうにかしなくちゃいけないっていう、思いというか、そういうものがあって、 自分たちから立ち上がって街を守ろうとしてきたっていう背景があって、それが今のコミュニティプランニングとか、なんていうのかな、コミュニティエンパワーメントとか、そういうものにつながっているんですよね。なので、今はその2つが相対してるんじゃなくて、両方がお互いに、パートナーシップを組んで、どのように街を良くするかっていう仕組みになってきているんだけども、そういう意味では、もう両方同時にスタートしているというようなことかなと思います。たまたま僕が今日プレゼンテーションしたのはボトムアップのアプローチを見せたので違和感があったのかもしれませんね。これでいいでしょうか。
はい、ありがとうございます。I'm also not good at, but let me try to explain in English. So thank you very much for the important questions. Professor Yamazaki explained that just reviewing, so this process is come from the reviewing of the Japan's economic growth history, as today Professor Shima explained. After the rapid economic growth, at the time the government had an initiative to develop the city, but since at the period the local residents or citizens recognize that they have to improve their living environment or local condition by themselves as well, because by the development we had many social issues and environmental issues as well. So now it is a time to the government doing the development, but also the local community also has an initiative to develop their the cities. So this initiative is not conflicting. Now, the Professor Yamazaki said that this become as a new partnership with the government and community to implement the sustainable development at the city level. So today, the Professor Yamazaki explained the focused on the bottom-up process by the community level, but the whole vision is like this, as I explained. I hope it is okay.
So it comes from both government and community.
Yes, in this period, by the context of the development since the rapid economic growth period.
Thank you.
I see.
Thank you.
How about in the case of the Malaysia?
I think maybe Dr. Robi want to say something about this.
Actually, in Malaysia, for the rural area, so in Malaysia, actually, we don't really have, a specific, the heritage conservation program in the rural area, because our building, our traditional building, the traditional house of Malaysia actually is located scatteredly around Malaysia. But for example, in Malacca, we do have one area known as Modern Village, where actually contains a lot of heritage. The traditional Malay house. So whereby they are encouraged to take care of each of their house, and some of them actually change their house to be a homestay, so that they can have guests or sometimes the university students or the tourists come to the place to experience the local culture and the local community and staying in the local, the traditional Malay house. I think in terms of the support from the government, yes, some, certain state government actually, they do have some initiatives to support the local activities, but in terms of the tourism sectors. So I think that is all for me. I'm not sure whether I'm answering to the questions or not.
Yes, for the last year and like 2 years ago, that our students enjoyed our homestay in Malaysia.
I see. Yes, I think that was in Morton Village. Is it? In Kampung Morton.
Yes, it was very precious experience for the students to feel, experience, to know the real of the local life in the heritage cities.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Yamazaki and Dr. Robia for the answers. So I hope we hope it answers the question. So I think we can move to the next question. And this is more for Dr. Shima and Prof. Jamal. For Dr. Shima first, how does the risk of earthquake is incorporated in the planning of Tokyo City? You can also see the question in the chat box. How does the town planning of Tokyo consider the risk of earthquake?
Maybe Professor Matsumaru should answer this question because talking about the Matsumaru Sensei, please answer this question from planning perspective after me. I talk about the building perspective. Every time we have that kind of big earthquake, the building standard law that regulates the building quality of the building is renovated or reviewed to adjust the earthquake event. This is the one. Yeah. That's the basic mechanism. But from planning perspective, in my understanding, there is a missing link between the natural disaster preservation, including the earthquake event, and the urban planning, in my understanding. For example, can I have the screen now? Can I use the screen now? I have a good example for the missing link between the urban planning and natural disaster preservation. Well, for example, actually, this is not the case of the earthquake, but when we talk about the flooding as a kind of typical, one of the most serious natural disaster, next to or almost as serious as earthquakes, for example. Look at this one. Wait.まだ講義したばっかりなんだよ。よし、これだ。あれシェアできなくなっちゃった。まあいいや。シェアできなくなっちゃった。まあいいや。 course, we have the kind of missing link between the urban planning and the natural disaster prevention. Now, the ministry, the national government of Japan is encouraging the local government to prepare their master plan as well as the planning document to adjust or to consider the possible natural disaster events, including the earthquake or something like that. Matsumoto-sensei, please make the follow-up comment for the situation of Japan. Thank you very much.
Okay. As Shima sensei talked about the after the Great Kanto earthquake, so I think disaster management, urban planning and disaster management, this is the first case of linking of the disaster prevention and urban planning. So urban planner planned Tokyo with the viewpoint of urban disaster management. So this is a very good case example of Tokyo's urban planning with disaster management. Also now Tokyo Metropolitan Government promote the restructuring of the Mokumitsu area. How can I say Mokumitsu area in English, Shima sensei? So very dense wooden houses area. So that is very vulnerable to disaster, earthquake and other disasters. So that the Metropolitan Government try to reorganize such vulnerable areas. Then in case of flooding, so we have many small rivers vulnerable to flood. Then we have no space to create to wider river or retention pond along the river, so that we are now constructing very big retention pond underground rivers. So this is a very expensive but very important work for preventing the flooding, urban flooding in Tokyo. Then I have one question so regarding the flood disaster management for Dr. Dr. Robial.
Dr. Robial.
About 30 years ago, I was a member of JICA team for flood control project in Klang River. Then the mosque area is very crucial point for flooding because this is a confluence of the river.
The river.
So I would like to know how do you balance the flood management and heritage preservation? So I think you cannot widen the river because there are many important facilities. So I just want to know how you balance this one.
Okay, thank you, Prof, for the question. So I try to answer your questions. So in case of the flood mitigation plan that we actually do for Kuala Lumpur. So as we know, Kuala Lumpur also always facing with these flood problems. Actually, when we are having this Blue Pond project, so when the contractor came in with the proposal to apply all the nozzles and the pipe for the fogging system, so we had one workshop with the Department of Water and Irrigation. Actually, we are quite worried actually when we first saw the proposal because I'm not sure if some of you know that inside the river there is so many surveillance camera. Inside the Klang and the Gombak River, there is a lot of surveillance camera to actually control or to monitor the water level. So actually, why actually we're having so many surveillance camera? Because we also have the smart tunnel. I'm not sure whether I'm sure you are aware of this. So we have a smart tunnel in Kuala Lumpur that has been built recently to control the flood. So this surveillance camera actually will give a signal to the smart tunnel. So if there is, if there is an increasing of water level, so the smart tunnel will be open, so the water will go directly into the smart tunnel. So that's how actually we control the flood in Kuala Lumpur. It's just that that's why I mentioned this now, because we are quite worried with this Blue Pond project, because we don't want the nozzles and the fog actually disturb the surveillance camera. But after thorough study and discussion with the respective department, so it was found out that the system actually will not disturb the surveillance camera. Okay, so I hope that answer your questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Asmaru and Dr. Robia. And Prof. Yamazaki wrote something about this. I shall translate a little bit. In Japan, there is also some beautification movement. For example, in Osaka and Hiroshima. And yeah, especially when it's come to related to the preservation of conservation historic buildings. Okay, I think we shall move to the next question. Yeah, Prof, do you want to add something?
Thank you for the translation.
Okay, thank you very much to all speakers for answering the questions. Now we need to move to the next part because the time is limited.
Okay.
Yes. So can I share my screen? Okay, now I would like to do the brief introduction for the next workshop. Just a moment. Yes, for today is the first joint workshop between UITM and RDS Toyo University, and now we plan for the next joint workshop in this year. So depend on the condition of COVID-19, we will adjust it as a on-site or online. But the theme of the workshop will relating to today's topic. Today we found many common issues between the two different cities, but we also found many keywords such as communities, lifestyle, changing lifestyle by the development culture, landscape and rivers. So next time, let's try to make a student-led field study and presentation between both university, and the theme will be the town and regional planning and building refurbishment and building conservation. So next time will be more oriented by the students, but our professor will support, and we will make more. We can do the further discussion for the sustainable development in both countries. So please let us update this detail. So if you're interested in, please join to the next joint workshop. Okay, this is a brief introduction. Okay, Rita Sensei, can we move to the closed session?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kashiwazaki. before we move, I would like to remind again for you to fill in the attendance form in the link given in the chat box. And okay, thank you all speakers for answering the questions. And also for Dr. Kashiwazaki for the brief introduction for our next project. And lastly, we shall have the closing remarks by Prof. Rio Matamaru, the Chair of the Department of Regional Development Studies, Toyo University, to officially close our event today. Please welcome.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for your kind participation today, panelists and participants. I would like to congratulate you on the successful completion of this workshop. During the workshop, presentations were given on urban planning and urban renewal with examples from Malaysia and Japan. From the presentations, I think we have learned about the differences and similarities between two countries. For example, Professor Shima's last slide and sentence in the last slide of Dr. Robia's presentation. We can find some similarities in that slide. Understanding and commonalities and differences is very important for conducting a joint research, UITM and Toyo. So this workshop is a good opportunity to understand each other and created a kind of platform to discuss urban issues and show solutions in the future. I feel that this question and answer session was active but a bit short, so that I request the organizing committee please allocate more time for discussion so that both panelists and participants can learn more. Then, as I told the opening session, this is the first workshop and kind of milestone event. So I'm expecting to enhance this kind of activity to outreach the result of our research activities. So I think we will expand our activities, as mentioned, Dr. Kashiwazaki already, but I again request for my colleagues and UITM counterpart team to please organize the student-led or student-centered workshop to discuss urban issues in Malaysia and Japan. I'm hoping that event will organize in this year. Again, thank you for your participation, and thank you to Professor Jamal Nari, Dean of SPU UITM, and our colleagues for organizing this workshop. Okay, please give a big hand to everyone who has contributed this workshop. Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon, hopefully in KL or Tokyo. Thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Prof. Matsumaru, can you stay for a while?
Yes, sure.
Okay, thank you, Professor Matsumaru. We have now come to the end of the workshop. Thank you everyone for being here today. Before I withdraw from the screen, on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to sincerely apologize for any shortcomings and also for the questions that we couldn't answer before. And looking forward to seeing everyone again in the next workshop. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Professor Matsumaru.
Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon in KL.
Can we have a photograph session with the panelists?
Okay.